David first saw her on a normal Tuesday morning. He was sitting in his favorite coffee shop, the one with the big windows that let in lots of morning light. He always came here before work because the coffee was good and it helped him start his day right. The woman was sitting 3 tables away from him. She had bright white hair, almost like silver, and her skin was so pale it almost seemed to glow. She was reading a book, but something felt wrong. David couldn't shake the feeling that she was watching him. He tried to focus on his phone, checking emails and scrolling through news, but every few minutes he would look up and catch her reflection in the window. She wasn't really reading at all. Her eyes were on him. David felt his heart beat a little faster. Maybe he was just being silly. Maybe she was just someone who happened to look in his direction. But when he finally got the courage to turn around and look at her directly, her chair was empty. The book was still there, open to the same page, but she was gone. He looked around the coffee shop. It was small, with only one exit. There was no way she could have left without him seeing her. But she had vanished, like she was never there at all. David shook his head and finished his coffee. He told himself he was working too hard lately. His job at the computer company was stressful, and maybe he was starting to see things that weren't really happening. But the next day she was there again. This time, David was at the grocery store after work. He was picking out apples when he saw her by the vegetables. The same white hair, the same pale skin, the same way of moving that seemed too smooth, too quiet. She was pretending to look at carrots, but David could feel her watching him. He decided to test his theory. He walked to the bread section on the other side of the store. When he looked back, she was gone from the vegetables. But then he saw her near the milk, still keeping her distance, still watching. David's hands started to shake a little. This wasn't his imagination anymore. Someone was definitely following him. He quickly bought his groceries and left the store. As he walked to his car, he looked over his shoulder. She was standing by the store entrance, not even trying to hide anymore. When their eyes met for just a second, David felt a chill run down his back. Her eyes weren't normal. They looked silver, like metal. The rest of the week was like living in a bad dream. Everywhere David went, she was there. When he took the bus to visit his mom across town, she sat in the back, always keeping several seats between them. When he went out for lunch near his office, she would be at a table outside reading the same book. David started changing his routine. He took different routes to work. He shopped at different stores. He even went to a completely different coffee shop on the other side of the city, but somehow she always found him. His friends at work started to notice that something was wrong. David had always been a calm, easygoing person, but now he was jumpy and nervous. He kept looking over his shoulder and checking the windows. "You okay, man?" his friend Jake asked during their lunch break. "You seem really stressed out lately." David wanted to tell someone about the woman, but how could he explain it? How could he say that a stranger with silver eyes was following him everywhere without sounding crazy? "Just work stuff," David said instead. "I'll be fine." But he wasn't fine. The woman was getting bolder. She no longer tried to hide behind books or pretend to shop. She would stand across the street from his apartment building and just watch his windows. She would sit on benches near his office and stare at the entrance until he came out. David started staying late at work, hoping she would get bored and leave. But when he finally came out at 9 o'clock at night, she was still there, waiting under a streetlight like she had all the time in the world. The breaking point came on Thursday night. David lived on the 4th floor of his apartment building. His windows faced the street, and he always kept the curtains open because he liked to see the city lights. He was getting ready for bed when he saw movement outside his window. At first, he thought it might be a bird or maybe something blowing in the wind, but when he looked closer, his blood turned to ice. The woman was there. Outside his 4th floor window, standing in the air like there was an invisible floor holding her up, she was looking right at him through the glass. Her silver eyes seemed to glow in the darkness. She wasn't moving, wasn't blinking, just watching him with that same cold, studying look she always had. David stumbled backward, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might explode. He grabbed his phone with shaking hands, but what could he call? The police. And tell them what? That a woman was floating outside his window? When he looked again, she was gone. The street below was empty, just normal cars and normal people walking. Their dogs. But David knew what he had seen. This wasn't a normal person following him. This was something else entirely. He closed his curtains and double-checked all his locks. He didn't sleep at all that night, jumping at every small sound, waiting for her to somehow appear inside his apartment. The next morning, David called in sick to work. He couldn't face going outside, couldn't face seeing her again. But as he sat in his living room trying to figure out what to do, he realized something terrible. She wasn't just following him anymore. She had found where he lived. She knew everything about his daily life. And if she could float outside a fourth-floor window, there was probably nowhere he could go that she couldn't find him. David had never been so scared in his entire life. He didn't know who this woman was or what she wanted from him. All he knew was that his normal, quiet life had suddenly become something out of a nightmare. And the worst part was, he had no idea if it was just beginning. David couldn't hide in his apartment forever. By Friday afternoon, he was running out of food and going crazy from staying inside. He had to go out, but he was terrified of seeing her again. He decided to be smart about it. Instead of going to his usual places, he would go somewhere crowded where she couldn't approach him easily. The city market downtown was always packed with people, especially on Friday evenings. Surely she wouldn't try anything there. David put on his jacket and checked the street from his window. No sign of her anywhere. He took a deep breath and headed out, keeping his head down and walking fast. The market was exactly what he hoped for, full of people buying fresh food, tourists taking pictures, and street musicians playing music. David felt a little safer, surrounded by so many normal people living their normal lives. He bought some vegetables and bread, trying to act casual while constantly looking around. For the first time in days, he didn't see her anywhere. Maybe she had finally given up. Maybe whatever weird game she was playing was over. David was starting to relax when he decided to take a shortcut home through one of the small alleys behind the market. It was getting dark, and the alley was empty, but it would save him 10 minutes of walking. That was his mistake. Halfway through the alley, she appeared right in front of him. Not walked up, not came around a corner. She just appeared out of thin air like smoke becoming solid. David dropped his grocery bag. Apples rolled across the wet pavement as he stumbled backward, his heart racing. Up close, she was even more strange than he had thought. Her skin wasn't just pale. It was almost translucent, like moonlight. Her hair wasn't white, but silver, moving slightly even though there was no wind. And her eyes were definitely not human. They were silver like mirrors, reflecting his terrified face back at him. "David Chen," she said, and her voice made his skin crawl. It sounded like one voice, but also like several voices speaking at the same time, creating a weird harmony that hurt his ears. "How do you know my name?" David whispered, pressing himself against the brick wall behind him. "You have been selected," she continued, ignoring his question. She spoke like someone reading from a script with no emotion at all. "Selected for what? What do you want from me?" David's voice was shaking. He looked toward both ends of the alley, hoping someone would walk by, but they were completely alone. The woman tilted her head, studying him like he was some kind of interesting bug. "I am Zara of the Viridian Council. I have been watching you for 47 of your Earth days." 47 days? David couldn't believe it. "You've been stalking me for over a month?" "Not stalking," Zara said, and for the first time there was something like emotion in her voice. Observing, studying, preparing. Preparing for what? Zara was quiet for a long moment, and David noticed something strange. She looked confused, like she was having trouble finding the right words. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, less mechanical, more uncertain. "Your elimination was ordered," she said slowly. "The council decided you were a threat that needed to be removed." David felt like the world was spinning around him. "Eliminated? You mean you want to hurt me? But why? I haven't done anything." "Wrong! You work with data," Zara said. "Your computer programs have been finding patterns they should not find. Patterns that could expose things that must stay hidden." David tried to understand what she was talking about. His job was boring, just analyzing data for a tech company, looking for trends in internet usage and communication patterns. How could that possibly threaten anyone? "I don't understand," he said. "My work is just normal business stuff. I'm not exposing anything." "Your algorithms are too good," Zara explained. "They have started detecting unusual communication patterns across your planet's networks, communications that are not human." The words hit David like a punch to the stomach. "Not human? You mean you're not human?" Zara looked at him with those mirror-like eyes. "I am Viridian. My people have been watching your world for many centuries. Occasionally, when humans discover too much, we must intervene." David slid down the wall until he was sitting on the ground. This was insane. Aliens were real, and one of them had been sent to eliminate him because his work computer programs were too good at finding patterns. "But there are complications," Zara continued, and now she definitely sounded confused. "Something unexpected happened during my observation period." "What kind of complications?" David asked, hoping that whatever it was might save his life. Zara knelt down to his level, bringing those strange silver eyes closer to his face. David wanted to run, but his legs felt like jelly. "You are not completely human," she said quietly. "Your genetic markers show Viridian heritage. Someone in your family line was one of us." David stared at her. "That's impossible. My family is completely normal. My parents, my grandparents, they're all just regular people." "Your grandmother," Zara said. "The one who taught you to notice patterns in everything. The one who always seemed to know things she shouldn't know. She was part Viridian." David's mind raced back to his childhood. His grandmother had always been special. She knew when it was going to rain before the weather forecast. She could fix any broken machine just by looking at it. She told him stories about distant worlds and strange creatures that he thought were just fairy tales. "That cannot be right," David whispered. "It changes everything," Zara said, standing up. "Harming someone with Viridian blood is forbidden by our most sacred laws. I cannot complete my mission." "So, you're not going to hurt me?" Zara looked down at him, and for the first time, her expression seemed almost human. "I do not know what to do. This has never happened before." She was quiet for a long moment, then said something that surprised David even more. "There is another complication," she said softly. "During my weeks of observation, I have been learning about human emotions. I have been studying how you live, how you care for others, how you find joy in simple things. And I have discovered something my people do not understand." "What's that?" "I think I am beginning to care what happens to you." Before David could respond, she stepped backward and started to fade away, becoming transparent like a ghost. "Wait!" David called out. "Don't leave! I have so many questions!" But she was already gone, leaving him alone in the alley with his scattered groceries and a head full of impossible thoughts. David sat there for a long time, trying to process everything that had just happened. His whole world had changed in the space of a few minutes. Aliens were real. His grandmother had been one of them, and the creature that was supposed to eliminate him was having second thoughts. As he finally gathered his groceries and headed home, David realized his life would never be normal again. David couldn't eat or sleep for 3 days after meeting Zara in the alley. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her silver face and heard her strange musical voice telling him impossible things about his grandmother and alien bloodlines. He kept thinking about his grandmother, Rosa. She had been the most important person in his childhood. When his parents were working late, she would take care of him, teaching him how to see patterns in everything around them. She showed him how to predict rain by watching the way cats behaved, how to fix broken radios by listening to their electrical hums, and how to read people's emotions by noticing tiny changes in their expressions. At the time, David thought she was just very wise. Now he wondered if there had been something more supernatural about her knowledge. On Monday evening, David was sitting at his kitchen table picking at a sandwich he didn't really want to eat, when Zara appeared again. This time, she didn't materialize dramatically from thin air. She simply walked through his front door like it wasn't even there. "Your security systems are not effective against us," she said, noticing his shocked expression. David jumped up from his chair, but he wasn't as terrified as before. Fear was being replaced by curiosity and a desperate need for answers. "I've been thinking about what you told me," David said. "About my grandmother. I need to know more." Zara looked different somehow. Less cold, less mechanical. She sat down across from him without being invited, which seemed like a very human thing to do. "Your species fascinates me," she said, studying his face. "In 3 days of observation, you have processed information that would take most humans weeks to accept." "Maybe that's the alien part of me," David said, trying to make a joke. But Zara didn't smile. "Perhaps," she said seriously. "Your grandmother was part of a small group of Viridian refugees who came to Earth about 60 years ago. There was a conflict on our world, and some of our people chose exile rather than participate in violence." David leaned forward. "So she really was an alien?" "Half Viridian," Zara corrected. "Her mother was human. Her father was one of the refugees. This made her very special. Someone who could understand both worlds." "Why didn't she ever tell me?" "Because it was dangerous," Zara explained. "The Viridian Council has rules about mixed heritage individuals. Some see them as valuable bridges between species. Others see them as contamination that should be eliminated." David felt a chill run down his spine. "And which group is in charge now?" Zara was quiet for a moment. "The ones who sent me to eliminate you." "But you said you can't hurt me because of the sacred laws." "That is correct," Zara said, but she looked troubled. "However, the situation is more complicated than I initially understood." She stood up and walked to his window, looking out at the city lights. "My people have been monitoring Earth for centuries. We have bases hidden in your oceans, observers in your major cities, and communication networks that span your entire planet." "Why?" David asked. "What do you want with Earth?" "Resources," Zara said simply. "Your planet has materials and conditions that are rare in the galaxy, but we are not invaders. We prefer to work slowly, gradually, making small changes that humans do not notice." "What kind of changes?" Zara turned back to him. "Climate adjustments to prepare certain regions for our eventual settlement. Genetic modifications in some plant and animal species. Technology introductions that push human development in directions that benefit us." David felt sick. "You're manipulating our entire civilization." "Not manipulating," Zara said, and she actually sounded a little defensive. "Guiding. Most changes benefit humans as well. Your internet, your satellite systems, your medical advances, many of these came from carefully introduced Viridian technology. And anyone who gets too close to discovering this gets eliminated." "Very few humans ever get close enough to be a threat," Zara said. Your data analysis work was unusual. You created algorithms that could detect our communication patterns across multiple networks simultaneously. No human had ever done that before. David thought about his work, remembering the strange patterns he had started noticing in global data streams. Signals that didn't match any known human technology, communication frequencies that seemed to follow no earthly logic. I wasn't trying to find alien signals, David said. I was just trying to do my job better. I know, Zara said, and her voice was softer now. That is what made you so dangerous. You were discovering us by accident, which meant other humans might do the same. She came back to the table and sat down again. But your mixed heritage changes everything. According to our laws, you have the right to know about your Viridian ancestry. You have the right to choose which world you belong to. Choose? You could come with me, Zara said quietly. To the Viridian settlements. You could learn about the other half of your genetic makeup, develop abilities you never knew you had. David stared at her. Leave Earth? Leave my life, my mom, my friends? Or, you could stay here, Zara continued. But if you stay, you become my responsibility. I would have to remain on Earth to protect you from other Viridian agents who might not respect the mixed heritage laws. Protect me? My extended absence has been noticed, Zara explained. Questions are being asked about why I have not completed my mission. Some of my people suspect that I have been compromised. Compromised how? Zara looked down at her hands. They think I have become too influenced by human emotions to do my duty. David studied her face. Even with her alien features, he could see something that looked like vulnerability. Have you? He asked gently. I do not know, Zara admitted. Before I came to Earth, I understood my purpose completely. Observe, evaluate, eliminate if necessary. But watching you these past weeks has shown me things I never experienced before. What kind of things? The way you care for your mother, visiting her every week and calling her every day. The way you help your co-workers even when it creates extra work for you. The way you feed stray cats behind your apartment building when you think no one is watching. David was surprised she had noticed all these small details. These behaviors serve no survival purpose, Zara continued. They do not increase your chances of reproduction or resource acquisition, yet they seem to bring you satisfaction. I have been trying to understand why. It's called compassion, David said. Caring about others because it's the right thing to do. Compassion, Zara repeated, like she was testing the word. I think I am beginning to understand this emotion, and I think it is changing me in ways that worry my superiors. David realized they were both in trouble. Zara for developing human feelings and him for being the cause of it. What happens now? He asked. Now we must decide, Zara said, meeting his eyes. Do we face this problem together, or do we try to solve it separately? David looked at this strange, beautiful creature who had turned his world upside down. A few days ago, she had been his worst nightmare. Now she might be his only ally in a situation he barely understood. Together, he said without hesitation. For the first time since he had met her, Zara smiled. Over the next 2 weeks, David's life became something he never could have imagined. Zara started visiting him every evening, and what began as discussions about survival slowly turned into something much deeper. At first, their conversations were practical. Zara taught David how to recognize other Viridian agents if they came looking for him. She showed him how their technology worked, explaining the invisible barriers they used to hide their ships and the frequency patterns their communications followed. David, in return, helped her understand human behavior and emotions. Why do you call your mother every day? Zara asked one evening as they sat in David's living room. She was fascinated by the most ordinary parts of his life. Because I love her, David said simply. And because she worries about me. But she cannot help you with your current situation, Zara pointed out. These calls serve no practical purpose. David smiled. Not everything has to have a practical purpose. Sometimes, we do things just because they make us feel good or because they make someone else feel good. Zara tilted her head, thinking about this. On my world, all actions must serve the collective good. Individual feelings are considered inefficient. That sounds lonely, David said. I thought it was normal, Zara replied quietly. Until I started watching you. These conversations revealed how different their worlds really were. Zara had never experienced friendship, never had a family, never even had a name until she chose one for her Earth mission. She had been created for a specific purpose and trained from birth to serve the Viridian Council without question. What was your life like before coming to Earth? David asked. I existed in a training facility with others like me, Zara explained. We learned combat, observation, technology, and mission protocols. When we were not training, we entered rest cycles. There was no leisure time, no personal relationships, no individual identity. That's not living, David said. That's just surviving. Perhaps, Zara said. But it was efficient. Do you miss it? Zara was quiet for a long time. I thought I would, but watching you live your life has shown me possibilities I never knew existed. You have Jake and Tom at work who make you laugh. You have neighbors who wave to you in the hallway. You have books that transport you to other worlds, and music that changes your mood. You have choices about how to spend your time. David began to realize that while he was learning about alien technology and galactic politics, Zara was learning about being human. And somehow, in teaching her about emotions and relationships, he was falling in love with her. The turning point came when David got sick with a bad cold. It was nothing serious, just stuffy nose and a cough, but when Zara arrived for their evening meeting and found him wrapped in blankets on the couch, she reacted in a way that surprised them both. You are ill, she said, and there was genuine concern in her voice. Should I contact your medical facilities? It's just a cold, David said with a laugh that turned into a cough. I'll be fine in a few days. But Zara didn't leave like she usually did. Instead, she stayed, watching him with worry. She used her advanced knowledge to adjust the temperature and humidity in his apartment to help him breathe better. She even attempted to make him soup, though she had never cooked anything before. You don't have to take care of me, David said as she handed him a bowl of what was technically soup, even if it tasted a bit strange. I want to, Zara said, and then stopped, looking surprised by her own words. I mean, it is logical to ensure your recovery. But David could see the truth in her silver eyes. She cared about him, really cared, in a way that had nothing to do with Viridian duty or mission protocols. As the days passed, their relationship grew deeper, but so did the danger. Zara's extended stay on Earth had not gone unnoticed by her superiors. She started receiving increasingly urgent communications demanding updates on her mission status. They are getting suspicious, she told David one evening. I have been away too long without completing my assignment. What are you telling them? That the situation is more complex than expected and requires extended observation, Zara said. But that excuse will not work much longer. David could see the stress this was causing her. Zara was caught between two worlds. The duty she had been programmed to follow and the new emotions she was experiencing. Maybe I should just disappear, David suggested. Leave the city, change my name, start over somewhere else. That would not work, Zara said. My people can track you anywhere on this planet. And besides, she paused, looking uncomfortable. Besides what? I do not want you to disappear, she admitted. I want you to stay. It was the most human thing she had ever said, and it made David's heart race. I want to stay too, he said, reaching for her hand. Her skin was cool and smooth, but her fingers tightened around his. This complicates everything, Zara whispered. I know. My people will not understand. They will see this as a failure, a contamination. And what do you see it as? Zara looked into his eyes. I see it as the first time I have ever felt truly alive. But their moment of connection was interrupted by a sound that made Zara freeze, with fear. A high-pitched tone coming from a device on her wrist. What is that? David asked. A priority communication from the council, Zara said, her face going pale. They are demanding my immediate return. David felt panic rising in his chest. What will you tell them? I do not know, Zara said, standing up quickly. But I do know that time is running out. If I do not report back soon, they will send others to investigate. Others like you? Others who will not hesitate to complete the mission I have failed to finish, Zara said grimly. And they will not care about mixed heritage laws or sacred protections. David stood up too, taking her hands in his. Then we need a plan. We? You said we were facing this together, remember? Zara's expression softened. David, you do not understand what you would be going up against. The Viridian Council has technology and resources beyond your imagination. Maybe, David said, but they don't understand human determination. And they definitely don't understand what people will do for love. The word hung in the air between them. Neither of them had said it before, but now it was out there. Real. And undeniable. Love, Zara repeated softly. Is that what this is? I think so, David said. I've never felt anything like this before. Neither have I, Zara admitted. But I do not know if love is enough to overcome what we are facing. Then we'll have to find out together. Zara's communication device beeped again, more urgently this time. I have to go, she said reluctantly. But David, whatever happens next, I want you to know that meeting you has changed everything for me. You have shown me what it means to be more than just a purpose. You have shown me what it means to choose. And what do you choose? Zara kissed him gently, her cool lips warming under his touch. I choose you, she whispered, whatever the cost. Then she was gone, leaving David alone with the knowledge that their time was running out and their love was about to be tested in ways neither of them could imagine. 3 days passed without any word from Zara. David couldn't eat, couldn't work, couldn't focus on anything except wondering if he would ever see her again. He kept staring at his phone, hoping she would find a way to contact him, but there was only silence. On Wednesday evening, as David sat in his apartment trying to distract himself with television, his front door suddenly burst open. But it wasn't Zara who walked in. It was 3 figures in dark clothing, moving with the same impossible grace that Zara had. But their silver eyes were cold and emotionless. David Chen, the leader said, in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. You will come with us. David jumped up from his couch, his heart pounding. Where's Zara? The agent you refer to has been recalled for questioning, the second figure said. Her mission failure requires investigation. Mission failure? David asked, though he was pretty sure he knew what they meant. She was sent to eliminate a threat, the third agent explained. Instead, she has become compromised by human emotional contamination. David felt anger rising in his chest. She's not contaminated. She's learned what it means to care about someone. The 3 agents exchanged looks that seemed to communicate without words. This is exactly the kind of thinking that proves how dangerous you are, the leader said. You spread these inefficient emotional concepts like a virus. And now we will complete what she could not, the second agent added, reaching for something attached to his belt. But before any of them could move further, Zara materialized in the middle of the room. She looked different than David had ever seen her. Her silver eyes were blazing with determination, and she positioned herself directly between David and the other agents. Stand down, she commanded. This human is under my protection. Zara, the leader said, and his voice carried a warning. You have been ordered to return for reconditioning. Do not make this situation worse. I will not let you harm him, Zara replied firmly. You have violated every protocol, the second agent said. You have allowed emotional compromise to interfere with your mission. The council has decided that both you and the human must be eliminated. David felt his blood turn to ice. They weren't just after him anymore. They wanted to eliminate Zara too, just for caring about him. Actually, Zara said, and David heard something new in her voice. Confidence mixed with something that sounded almost like pride. I have been busy while you were tracking me down. She pulled out a small device that looked like a crystal cube. David's data analysis skills are even more impressive than you realized. While you were debating his fate, we were working together. Working? On what? The leader demanded. We found others, David said, stepping up beside Zara. Others like me. The three agents suddenly looked uncertain for the first time. Impossible, the third one said. The refugee population was eliminated decades ago. Not eliminated, Zara corrected. Hidden, living normal human lives, having families, creating new generations of mixed heritage individuals. David explained what they had discovered. Using his computer skills and Zara's knowledge of Viridian genetics, they had identified dozens of people across the globe who showed the same unusual patterns in their digital footprints that had originally marked David as a threat. We found a teacher in Canada whose students always performed better than expected, David said. A doctor in Japan who could diagnose illnesses that other doctors missed. A mechanic in Germany who could fix machines that everyone else said were hopeless. All of them have Viridian ancestry, Zara added. All of them have been living peacefully among humans for years. This changes nothing, the leader said, but David could hear uncertainty in his voice. It changes everything, Zara argued. These people represent something new, a bridge between our species. Eliminating them would be destroying something unique and valuable. Moreover, David said, pulling out his laptop, we've prepared a little insurance policy. He showed them a screen full of files and programs. If anything happens to either of us, all of our research about Viridian presence on Earth gets automatically uploaded to every major news network, government database, and social media platform on the planet. The three agents stared at the screen, with growing alarm. You would not dare, the second agent said. Try us, David replied. I may be part alien, but I'm still human enough to be stubborn when someone threatens the people I love. This is blackmail, the leader accused. This is survival, Zara corrected. And it is also an opportunity. She stepped forward, addressing her former colleagues directly. I have learned something during my time here that none of you understand. Humans are not just a resource to be managed or a threat to be eliminated. They are potential partners. Partners? The third agent scoffed. The mixed heritage individuals prove it is possible, Zara explained. Our species can coexist, can learn from each other, can create something better together than either could achieve alone. David watched the three agents processing this information. He could see them communicating silently again, probably consulting with their superiors. The council will never accept this, the leader finally said. Some members already have, Zara revealed. While you were hunting us, I was in contact with the progressive faction. They have been waiting for evidence that peaceful integration was possible. You contacted the progressives? The second agent asked, sounding shocked. They are very interested in studying the mixed heritage population, Zara said, and they believe David's discovery methods could help identify others who might benefit from contact with their Viridian ancestry. David realized what Zara was proposing. Instead of hiding, from the Viridian Council they were offering to work with them. What exactly are you suggesting? The leader asked. A new protocol, Zara said. David and others like him become liaisons between our species. They help identify and protect mixed heritage individuals while serving as bridges for peaceful contact. And, in exchange? In exchange, the elimination orders are canceled, David said. The mixed heritage population is recognized as protected, and both species get the chance to learn from each other. The three agents were quiet for a long time. Finally, the leader spoke. This decision is beyond our authority. We must consult with the full council. Understood, Zara said. But while you are consulting, David and I continue to exist under the protection of our insurance policy. And if the council rejects this proposal? Zara looked at David, then back at the agents. Then you will have a much bigger problem than one data analyst who found some unusual patterns. The agents exchanged one final look, then began to fade, away like smoke. We will return with the council's decision, the leader said as he disappeared. When they were alone, David collapsed onto his couch, his hands shaking from adrenaline. Do you think it will work? He asked. Zara sat beside him, taking his hands in hers. I do not know. But for the first time in my existence, I have hope. Hope? Hope that love can be stronger than duty. Hope that understanding can overcome fear. Hope that two very different people can build something beautiful together. David squeezed her hands. Whatever happens, we faced it together. And we will continue to face whatever comes next together, Zara promised. 2 weeks later, the council's decision came through. The progressive faction had won the debate. David became the first official human Viridian liaison, and Zara was appointed as his partner in the new integration program. Their love story had become something bigger, the beginning of a new chapter, in the relationship between two worlds. And sometimes, David thought as he watched Zara laugh at one of his jokes, the most impossible things could become the most beautiful.